Very good evening. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, the results of the 2018 Barbados Secondary Schools Entrance Examination, commonly called the 11 Plus, show a big jump in the national mean in scores in mathematics compared with 2017. And there's been a very slight dip in English. The overall mean score in maths is up to 62.46 over last year's 55.0. While English registered a very small decrease to 69.44 from 70.4 in 2017. Now, during a live media conference this morning, Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training, Santia Bradshaw, congratulated all the students who took the exam. However, she says each year a number of students are not allocated to schools in the initial stage because parents make too few choices for their schools. She says when this happens, students are placed at a disadvantage as they are then allocated to the few schools with available spaces.
In an effort to ensure that this situation is addressed for the next academic year, I have directed the officials in the ministry to look at utilizing technology to create more user-friendly tools for informing parents about their selection of schools and the implications of selection or non-selection. There is currently a Government Secondary Schools of Barbados 2018 guidebook in a printed form, but as I'm sure that many of you will appreciate, there's a need to use the available technology to create short videos explaining the process in perhaps a better way to allow several parents who may not fully appreciate the written format to be able to get a better grasp on what it is that they are signing on to.
While the Education Minister was particularly pleased with the upward trend in the maths results, she says the overall results reveal there's a core of schools consistently in the top 25, while there is another group performing in the opposite direction. She says it's been a high priority matter for her, and the ministry is paying special attention to the selection of school boards.
We've had a situation where there's several people who request participation of these boards because they attended some of the higher performing schools, and then we have the deficiency where there are not enough people coming forward to serve on these schools that are performing below the average. What I would encourage the public to do, and particularly people who can appreciate that we cannot have a situation where there continues to be a follow in relation to these schools that are performing below the average, is to encourage everyone to reach out in some way to see if they can participate and to be able to lend their skill sets to these institutions. Because what is happening is that those persons who have adequate skill sets are able to access significant resources to be able to benefit a number of those top performing schools.
And of course, at this time of year, a lot of focus is on the top performing male and female students. So who are they? Well, Shane Jones tells us.
Ladies first, and off to the Christchurch Girls' School on Water Street we go to meet Jazara Barrow. She scored 99 in mathematics, 96 in English, and an A in her composition for a total converted score of 239.87. It was truly a beautiful moment when her grandmother and parents Michael Barrow and Shari Greenidge arrived at the school to shower her with love. Mum Shari assured me that Jazara earned the ability to get whatever she asked for. Her teacher Francine Lord was overjoyed.
Jazara is a very sweet girl. I like to begin there, okay? You will not know Jazara is at school unless you look and see her there. She's very quiet, as I said before, very sweet, but very smart. And she sits quietly and does her work. And you will see others around talking and so, not Jazara. Very focused child. So I am not surprised that she's the top girl.
Jazara will be attending Queen's College in September. She says the hard work paid off.
I was staying home and studying instead of being outside. I was more in my books than on my tablet, and I was just being focused and just, you know.
So you got your dream. You wanted to go to Queen's College. Did you ever envision that you would be the top girl? Were you working towards that?
Not really. I didn't actually think I would be the top girl because I know there's students out there that could be smarter than me and could have been here in this position. But I am truly surprised.
Okay, so tell me, what are your plans when you go to Queen's College? What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, I would like to be either an animator or an artist.
And your thoughts about Queen's College? How do you feel? Are you nervous to go to secondary school?
Yes, I am. I am nervous, but I'm still happy, and hopefully I'll make new friends.
Over at St. Cyprian's, Neil Charles was on top of the world, and his peers sure made him feel that way. He'll be heading to Queen's College thanks to 99 in maths, 98 in English, and an A in composition for a total converted score of 241.35.
I was very happy, very proud of myself.
Were you surprised?
Actually, yes, quite a bit, yes, I was.
How would you describe the preparation for leading up to the exam?
It was a rough time, but I managed to push through.
What was the most difficult about it?
Probably having to give up some of my playtime with my friends. But it was worth it, it was worth it.
Mum, Dr. Joanne Paul Charles, says she's excited and proud.
I remember last year Neil just casually telling me when the last year's results came out, he just casually said, you know, Mom, I'm going to be in the papers next year. And he said it in a cool and casual way. But he's a high achiever. He tends to aim high.
Principal of the school, Dave Lane, says the school will use the results to inspire future great performances.
We're going to discuss this tomorrow at assembly. We're going to encourage the boys coming up. You want to emulate these boys. You want to find what formula work for these boys. And what work? Hard work, discipline, doing your homework, listening to your teachers. You know, so we encourage these boys and look at the other boys and continue from there on in. But I must add that this doesn't start in class 4. The teachers here, all of the teachers are excited and really put in the effort to get these boys to where they are.
Dominic Highland, also of St. Cyprian's, was one of the top performers in mathematics. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Thanks, Shane, and congratulations to all of the students who wrote the exam. Well, there is still hope for tourism, but workers must lead that charge. This message from the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's new chairman, Stephen Austin. Meanwhile, outgoing chairman Roseanne Myers is pointing to a number of critical issues relating to the sector, which government still needs to address.
Key stakeholders in the local tourism industry must invest in their human resources. The BHTA's new chairman, Stephen Austin, who started out as a receptionist in the sector, says the only way tourism can reach its full potential is when workers are given the tools to do the same.
We have to give people opportunities in the industry. Yes, it is dollars and cents. We do want to make some money, but I believe the only way we can advance this tourism industry is through our people. Our people have to be included and have to be developed. We are not able to succeed and make money without people. So there is hope.
Outgoing Chairman Roseanne Myers, who is throwing her full support behind Mr. Austin, says there's lots of work to be done as the country maneuvers through tough financial conditions. She warns that Monday's budget could place hardship on the local tourism sector and stress the need for even closer dialogue with government.
There are some decisions that are out of our hands, but I believe that we need to continue to lobby to look at those numbers again and take some of the feedback from the industry to see, because it is a $70 a TTD fee along with the $30 departure tax. So it's actually $100 per head. We've asked for some consideration to be given to children below a certain age.
While Ms. Myers is pleased with government's hands-on approach to tackling the South Coast sewage crisis, she's renewing calls for affected businesses to be compensated.
Maybe it's not cash, maybe it's simply, because we're still being billed every month, a credit on your bill that recognizes that there's a period of time that you did not get service. So we are going to continue in those efforts to ensure that we get an answer to what do we do with the losses that have been racked up.
At the meeting, Prime Minister Mia Mottley pledged her support for the industry, promising initiatives to attract not only more tourists, but more revenue as well. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Acting Prime Minister George Payne has taken issue with criticisms of Monday's budget in recent days by members of the Democratic Labour Party. Speaking during parliamentary debate yesterday, the St. Andrew MP said there are a number of harmful things done by the previous administration that still have not been addressed. He's of the view where any evidence of wrongdoing is found, some type of action must be taken.
They term this budget as foolishness. They call it foolishness because they want us to forget the madness and the atrocities that have been committed ministry after ministry in this country. But we have to take a stance. We have to do it. We got more. We have a mandate, and the people expect us to do something about it. If it be that we bring an action for malfeasance against any of these functionaries in the Democratic Labour Party, and we do not have enough evidence, so be it. So be it. But I will be on the tail of the Attorney General to make sure that even if it is an example of one person, we have to do it.
With almost 100,000 cases in Barbados' magistrates court system, approximately 10,000 in the civil courts, and almost 1,000 in the criminal high court, the time has come for an urgent approach to clearing the massive backlog of cases. That's according to Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Dale Marshall. In his contribution to the debate, Mr. Marshall said one of the major methods that will be used is giving greater priority to capital trials and other serious matters.
We cannot continue, sir, to have such a large number of murder cases sitting in our system without being treated with the priority that they deserve. And similar priority is going to be given to rapes and other sexual offenses, because it is a disgrace that a country like Barbados would wait 8 and 9 years to do a rape trial, or to do a trial where you have a sexual assault of a minor. It is wrong. It is wrong for the accused, but it is also wrong for the victim.
Mr. Marshall said he has pledged to the Director of Public Prosecutions to find the resources necessary to get the process started. Well, also in Parliament, Minister of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce, Dwight Sutherland, outlined a new vision for vending in a modern Barbados. He sees the trade as important, saying many lives were enriched over the years. Mr. Sutherland says his ministry will move to ensure vending is decriminalized.
And that we introduce only civil penalties for individuals who vend without licenses or operate outside designated zones or other infringements. We cannot criminalize vending at this stage when we want to develop this country a new vision for vending in Barbados, vending in a modern Barbados. So we'll be working with the Attorney General, the Honorable Member for St. Joseph, in ensuring that we, in the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce, we come up with a comprehensive vending policy for Barbados.
Mr. Sutherland wants the government to create an environment where illegal vending is dealt with and vendors, including those selling coconuts, move from the informal to the formal economy. Minister of International Business and Industry Ronald Toppin says public workers needed at least some form of relief after not being given any increases in salaries for almost a decade. The St. Michael North MP says the recently passed budgetary policies have therefore sought to provide that relief while asking Barbadians to also help in turning the island's economy around.
For 8 years, prices just going up and up and up and up and up. And they're being told, no, 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 no. That does not make sense to me, and it's totally unfair. So again, we decided that as part of our measures, you had to give the civil servants an increase. And I must say this, Mr. Speaker, the Barbados Labour Party held faith with the civil service of this country throughout the entire time they were asking for their increases and not getting it.
In other news now, the economic advisor to the newly elected Mia Amor Motley-led administration, Professor Avinash Prasad, says the Central Bank of Barbados is once again assisting in the rescue and transformation of the island. According to The Economist, the central bank has played a critical role in the past in developing Barbados. Professor Prasad's comments came as he delivered the keynote address at a domestic financial institutions conference at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. His topic, what does resiliency mean and how do you build it? Professor Prasad, who recently served as special advisor to Dominica's Prime Minister on economic recovery post-Maria, shared the island's experiences, saying that island had lost 222% of GDP. And with just 2 weeks into the 2018 Atlantic hurricane season, he's telling Barbados ways must be found to waterproof the economy.
We need to make sure that day 2 of the hurricane, there's still some income flowing in. Well, our lived experience was day 2 of the hurricane, our expenses shot up and our income collapsed to zero. There was no income in Dominica, no money coming in, nothing being earned. And so we're thinking about not just using geothermal, but exporting geothermal under the sea to Martinique and Guadeloupe, and we've just signed a contract to look into a PPP for doing that. We are looking to use more of the internet, which we were able to put back up very quickly with mobile satellite dishes.
And we'll hear more from that conference later on in the business report. Well, the body found, the person's identity is still unknown. We'll have that story and more coming up after the break. Residents of a St. Michael community remain disturbed tonight after a body was found in a nearby gully. And police are still trying to find out who the man was and how he died. Kareem Smith has more.
Residents in a St. Michael community received the shock of their lives
when they stumbled upon the lifeless body of an elderly man. It's a situation that is currently under police investigation.
Police can confirm the discovery of a motionless body of a male laying in the bushy area. At this stage, we are making some inquiries as to the identity of the person, and we are dealing with a certain level of protocol in terms of treating it as an unnatural death, which it will be investigated as a natural death.
Residents say a man wandering in the area late last night aroused their suspicion because they had never seen him before. Donna Bennett, however, says it was around midday today that neighbors sounded the alarm.
My girlfriend Kelly, she was calling for me, Donna, you're here sleeping and there's a dead man in the gully. I said, really? So I really get real shaky and stuff it to her. I come in now. So I get up, I put on my slippers, I went outside and I just went over to the gully part, just a stone throw away from me, and I saw the body laying there, lifeless, and she was swollen and really dark.
Hours later, the man still hadn't been identified. However, Ms. Bennett says she's seen him before in the area of the Bell just nearby. As to how he found his way in the gully, that remains a mystery.
This gully, that's a place that people usually frequent.
Yeah, people that pass through there use that road to get to Station Hill, get to Bush Hall. People use that road to come, like living Station Hill, to come to the front to catch your bus to go to work and stuff like that. But not where he is located. No one does be down in there. But one of our neighbors down the hill, he said he went to his shed, or his shed is carry his tools, and he said he had no idea. But his shed is here, and the body's like sharp there away from the shed. He said he had no idea that the body was behind there. So we really shocked.
Investigations are continuing. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley wants every Barbadian child to learn to swim. This indication from Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, during the launch of a campaign to combat the incidence of childhood obesity in Barbados. The minister says the burden of childhood obesity is large and projected to continue to grow if decisive action isn't taken. He's therefore outlining several of his ministry's plans aimed at prevention rather than cure.
encouraging regular physical activity in school-aged children, engaging the food industry and reducing the production, manufacture, distribution, and marketing of energy-dense and high-salt foods. We will examine the feasibility of setting thresholds for levels of salt, fat, and sugar in foods to facilitate labeling and restriction of high-in foods from the school environment and from marketing to children.
The campaign, which is being spearheaded by the Heart and Stroke Foundation, is called Stop You're Too Sweet. It was launched during a ceremony at Frank Cullimore Hall under the patronage of Governor General Dame Sandra Mason. The event featured the signing of a national accord in support of the campaign by Dame Sandra, the presentation of awards to champions of the cause, and a dance performance by students of the Reynold Weeks School. Chief Executive Officer of the Foundation, Fiona Anthony, says the campaign is seeking to change the obesogenic environment which exists in schools.
The focus of this campaign, therefore, is to support, as part of a multi-sectoral approach, policy change to ban the sale and promotion of sugary drinks and unhealthy foods in schools and to school children, supported by efforts aimed at increasing the availability of healthy options.
The head of a regional group established to combat chronic diseases wants those in the highest political office in Barbados to re-establish the country as a global leader in health. President of the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, Sir Trevor Hassel, is therefore suggesting Barbados be represented at the United Nations meeting on chronic diseases, which takes place in New York later this year. He made the call during that launch of a campaign seeking to combat childhood obesity in Barbados.
I strongly encourage attendance of Barbados at the very highest political level at this high-level meeting. For to do so would serve notice that Barbados and the Caribbean intends to continue the tradition of significant global leadership in health, and would further signal the intent of the political leadership in Barbados to take all reasonable and necessary steps to reduce childhood obesity and prevent and control NCDs.
Barbadian Ronell King is among a group of young people from across the Commonwealth who will receive awards from Queen Elizabeth at Buckingham Palace in London later this month. King was selected to receive a Queen's Young Leaders Award on June 26th. The award recognizes the work of young people from across the Commonwealth and what they're doing to transform lives in their community and beyond. King was recognized for her work in helping to end violence against women in the Caribbean. The Queen's Young Leaders Program was established in 2014 by the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust. It's also in partnership with Comic Relief, the Royal Commonwealth Society, and the University of Cambridge's Institute of Continuing Education in recognition of the Queen's lifetime of service to the Commonwealth. Well, Q in the community came home to CBC today, and as our Lisa Lord reports, there was no shortage of fun.
Food, games, music, and dancing galore. This is what you get when you come to any Q in the community. And the much anticipated event every Thursday is showing no signs of slowing down as it remains extremely popular among Barbadians and visitors alike. Marketing specialist here at CBC, Alicia Hinton, explains why they decided to bring Q home today.
We go all around the island and we said, well, why not stop at CBC and have Q at home? We're socathologists for the season, and we're going to have a mixture of soca and the oldie-goldie music with the line dancing and so forth at CBC. So we just want to thank all the sponsors that came on board: Banks, Hanshaw Mount Gay Rum, Easy Pave, Island Ice. A big, big thank you to them for coming on board. As usual with Q, you know, it's still the most exciting event any Thursday on the island. You can rest assured that wherever Q is, you're going to get thousands of people enjoying themselves and having fun.
And throughout the sea of patrons, there are always those familiar faces you see week after week. They tell us why they keep coming back.
I just wanted to say Q is good for me.
The good food, the good music, and the friendly people. And I thought at least to dance.
The atmosphere, the friends that it is made at Q, the spirit that's be at Q, the music, everything has been nice.
In the years going to Q, I have met a lot of people, joined a new group, other than Togetherness Social Group. That's about it.
I love it. It carries my asthma.
And for those of you who want to come down and shake a leg, there's still lots of time, as Q will be swinging until 1 a.m. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Thanks, Lisa. And I can tell you that Q is still going strong, so come on down. We'll have regional news after this break. We'll begin in the Bahamas, where the ruling Free National Movement, led by Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham, appears to be losing support. And this is according to a new poll. Now, the FNM in last year's general election won 35 of the 39 seats at stake. We have a report from our news.
Make some noise! Say, we going on
On the night of May 10th, 2017, the FNM swept into power on a wave of voter discontent towards the defeated PLP government. However, the latest public domain survey shows the tide is turning against the new government very early on in its term.
So we've been polling pretty steadily since the election, and these numbers have been trending down.
When asked which party they would vote for if the general election were held tomorrow, a mere 20% of respondents said the FNM. The PLP didn't fare any better. Only 12% of persons polled said they would vote PLP. 7% said the DNA, while 44% of respondents said they don't know who they would vote for. Public Domain President Mwale Raming says the good news for the FNM is the party still has the largest block of support. Now here's the bad news.
The bad news for them is that 44%, or almost half of the population, is saying they don't know. I don't want to say that that's a predictor, but one of the things that we've observed we've been open since 2010, and so we've been through 2 election cycles, and we've seen that in both election cycles that we've seen is that undecided voter has all voted for the opposition.
In Belize, the death of 4 family members in a house fire has affected the tightly knit community in San Pedro. A mother, her 2 children, and another woman all died in the blaze. We have more in this report from Channel 5 Belize.
The tragedy on San Pedro has many in disbelief that none of the 4 persons could have been saved from the inferno. Antonio Guerrero, who lives next door to the Nunez Bacab family, says that David Nunez broke in a window in an attempt to save 2 of his children.
But when I come out, I see the veranda down on fire, and they just have 1 door. And that was causing the problem that she don't know how to escape from it. Because David broke up the window and he jumped on top. But as my concern, he got in, but the smoke win him, and he had to let go the little girl. So he jumped after the window.
So he only escaped with 1 child?
Yes.
With the boy?
With the big, no, with Sammy.
Sammy. So Alan and Mia were trapped inside?
Yes, with her mom and 1 little niece.
That aside, Guerrero says that she was also concerned about her house and others in proximity to the billowing flames. A 3rd house suffered damages to its side adjacent to the blaze, but fortunately was not completely gutted.
Well, sports news is coming up, but first, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
Tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
If you develop asthma symptoms while exercising, stop immediately. Use a reliever or rescue inhaler and do not resume until your symptoms are completely gone. This tip is brought to you in association with the Asthma Association of Barbados.